Yeah, I think I have it. Yeah, okay, here we go. All righty, so we have all firms on, yeah. All right, thank you guys for your patience while we work out these tough technical difficulties. Just for the record, he had some technical difficulties, so the meeting starting time was delayed, but we are going to proceed with the scoring phase. So let me go ahead. Good morning, committee members and other parties of interest. The evaluation committee meeting for RFP-24-24447, the design build services for the fire rescue emergency management warehouse, step 2, will be held by means of communications media technology. Active participation will be for committee members and advisors only. Provisions have been made for any member of the public desiring to have access to the meeting. My name is Sybil Tucker. I'm the procurement analyst for this project. At this time, we'll have the committee members and the advisors to introduce themselves for the record, starting with the committee chair.
Yeah, this is Mansour Yazdi with the Hillsborough County Capital Programs Department.
This is Tim Dudley, Hillsborough County Office of Emergency Management.
Laura Singer, Facilities Management Department.
Bill Hand, Capital Programs Department.
And our advisors.
Travis Dean with Long and Associates.
And Lex Long, architect, Long and Associates.
All right, thank you so much. So the short list of firms were asked to do a presentation, and we had a Q&A session. Those presentations have now been completed by the two firms, and we will now proceed with the scoring phase of the oral presentations, which have occurred as a result of the evaluation meeting that was held on August 29th. The scores from the evaluation meeting were considered preliminary scores. They were not finalized at that time due to the closeness of the scores. Before we proceed with the scoring, I do need to clarify that the score that was calculated in the initial evaluation meeting for the cost component by way of a mathematical formula for the cost criteria should have been actually carried out to the to 2 decimal places, and will be corrected and announced as such when I read the preliminary scores that were a result from that initial evaluation meeting. So what I will do, I will recap what those scores were so that it's stated correctly, and so that the committee will know that the starting point from whence they will proceed with their scoring. I do want to mention that even with the scores as they were, as close as they were, the resulting in the oral presentations would have still been the recommendation of the county due to the closeness of the scores. So in that scoring point would have still resulted in having oral presentations. So with that, I am going to read off the criteria where the proposals and the oral presentation will be scored against, as well as what those scores were of that initial evaluation meeting. So for evaluation criteria number 1, which is the technical approach, ability, and successful experience, the maximum amount of points to receive would be 10 points. The criteria 2, the proposer's design concept based on design criteria package for a maximum of 20 points. Criteria 3, the guaranteed maximum price for the proposer design concept based on the design criteria package for a maximum of 50 points. The criteria 4, the guaranteed schedule for a maximum of 8 points. Criteria 5, the alternative design concept and proposer recommended alternates and value engineering for a possibility of 12 points for a total possibility of 100 points. So from the, again, the initial evaluation meeting, I will start with recapping and restating what those scores were. For Bandy's construction, we had, for criteria 1, we had a consensus score of 9. For criteria 2, we had a consensus score of 18. The calculated scoring for the cost component for criteria number 3 for Bandy's construction should have been 47.29 for criteria 4. We have a consensus of 7 for Bandy's. And for criteria 5, we had a consensus score of 10 for a total of 91.29 points. For registered construction, for criteria 1, we had a consensus score of 8. Criteria 2, consensus score of 18. For criteria 3, they received 50 points, based again on that calculation. For criteria 4, we had they had a consensus score of 6. For criteria 5, we had a consensus score of 9 for a total of 91 points. So again, with that said, the committee will now proceed with their scoring reconsiderations based on and finalization of the scores based on, again, collectively the written proposals in as well as with the oral presentations and interviews that have been completed earlier. So with that, I'll go ahead and turn the meeting over to the committee chair to begin the discussion and scoring. I do want to make note that we do have our consultants here as advisors to the committee. However, they will not be participating in the scoring. They will only be here to advise the committee if the committee chooses to ask them any questions. So with that, Monsieur, you can go ahead and proceed.
Okay, this is Master Yazid. Are we gonna do it throughout one at a time? Each criteria
Yeah, the
or
way that
just go?
way that-
Okay. With the Bandits Construction Company for the criteria number 1, no change to my scoring, I'm gonna stay with my number, 9. And then with the, criteria number 2, no
If
change.
you want to,
Yeah, but I'm gonna,
you want to,
so you wanna do individual criteria?
We have
just
to reach a consensus.
yeah, you still have to,
All right, I was just going to the, and then I'll come back to discuss it, but that's what you go each criteria. I don't have any change to that criteria number 1, so I still maintain my score.
I'd like to move them up a point to a 10.
So,
you want to explain.
Yeah, I thought they, based on the feedback they gave a briefing that they're doing 70 to 100,000 square feet of warehouse projects currently in their inventory and most recently. They've also had a history of doing some smaller warehouses and hardened facilities. So therefore, I thought they demonstrated that their technical approach and the ability of success and experience was demonstrated. So therefore, I wanted to add an additional.
this one was already in the proposals for the, talk about, this and the warehouse. So,
Yeah, they've gotten work here, some district previous notes as well that from 2020 to on the most recent that they've done some hardened facilities and some warehouse work.
I was with Mansour on leaving it the same for that particular criteria.
I would be okay with raising it to a 10 because of the commitment they made for on-site representation, full-time by the project manager, as well as dedicating a coordinator to the project full-time. So I'm okay with 10.
what is different than what was on the package? So,
They confirmed they would do that, plus they added that they're dedicating.
we go with 10.
So is it the consensus of the committee to
Yeah.
increase the score to a 10?
Yeah. Even though I don't give a perfect score, no one's perfect, but because the majority of it, so.
Okay, so the consensus of the committee is to increase the score to a 10.
Criteria number 2, design concept, so, I maintain my numbers now, my 18, because I didn't see different than what was presented in that package, so. Even though presentation was good, but just, touch basis on what was submitted on step 2 of the package, so. What changed in my scoring?
I propose an additional point moving it to 19. Again, based on their confirmation of the design from their original package, I felt they articulated what we were able to read and demonstrate in detail, in great detail. So I appreciate the level of detail and then actually having the opportunity to speak with the team on that. So I would recommend one additional point for 19.
I agree with that.
I agree with that because they also confirmed that they've got 4 separate prices for site work, and they are confident in the price related to that.
I thought that was a plus.
What are your thoughts?
Was good, so the approach to sideboard was good, so the touch, they told us like exactly what you said about that, changing the, having full-time project manager on site. I'm emphasizing on this one. Project manager, in addition to the superintendent and the foreman is gonna be on site full-time, so with that said, I'm gonna go ahead and support that. So that's 19.
The another plus for me, them being able to articulate and recognize the difficulty of that site and the approach that was described in the package, and being able to hear from them of how they want to approach those challenges.
Okay, so, consensus of the committee to increase the score to 19, is that correct?
That's good. We're gonna go to criteria number 4, right?
Correct.
I think that schedule was, once we was done, so, like I said, the highest score can come to 7. I didn't see some of those arguments like, test and balance on this schedule. I might be wrong, but that's what I have notes right there. But overall, the schedule, I have a good understanding of the schedule, so with that, I give them 7 out of 8.
I'm still good with the 7 out of 8 schedule.
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
So the score for criteria 4, guaranteed schedule, the committee is agreeing to keep the score at 7, is that correct?
Yes. We're going to move on to the criteria number 5, grade 5. I look at the schedule value right there. Majority of the items that is recommended is plus increase. But some of this is worth of looking at. When we are not just focused on value engineering, we're trying to see if they are gonna offer any other alternate ways project will benefit of this one. So I give original 10. I'm not gonna change this. I'm gonna maintain that 10.
I would want to bump it another point here as well, 11. Being able to read the different alternatives, very detailed, gave us a lot of choices, and then them being able to explain how we would maximize those choices. I wanted to bump that additional point to the 11.
Agree with moving it up 1. I thought they did a good job explaining those.
I agree with 11. I think they clarified additional potential savings today, which I thought was worthwhile.
Okay, so I'll go with the fund. So yeah, I'll go with the.
So, the committee, is coming to a consensus to increase the score to 11, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, and as previously stated, the cost, price score will remain again at 47.29. So we can move on to the next firm, Registered Construction. Discuss the scoring.
But design criteria, okay, this is Mansour again. Criteria number one, I maintain 8 point right there because I didn't see anything different than what was, presented today. I mean, design proposal, the proposal, so I maintain that 8.
I concur with the, as well. Really didn't see anything different. So I'm comfortable with the 8.
I'm good with 8.
So the consensus of the committee is for the score to remain at 8, is that correct?
Yes.
We're going with the design criteria number 2. What was presented in the proposal and what they presented today didn't change anything, didn't change my scoring, so I'm gonna maintain like 18.
I concur with 18.
I do as well.
I agree.
Okay, so it's the consensus of the committee to, for the score to remain at 18, is that correct?
Yep.
Criteria 3, the cost component will again remain as is at 50 points.
So criteria number 4, the schedule they presented in the proposal, what they discussed right here, I think it's lack of understanding, permitting all those things, so I give them 6, maintain a 6. Which is,
I concur with the 6.
I agree as well.
I agree with 6.
So it's consensus of the committee to score to remain at 6, is that correct?
Yes.
Is that correct? Criteria number 5. What was presented, what we discussed right here. Original given 9, I'm willing to bump it up to 10 because it was an interesting subject. The TPO, the roofing. And so with that said, I'll give it 10.
I'm comfortable still with the 9.
Thought that was an interesting concept. So I agree with him.
I could go with 10. Based on the amount of what they did on their value engineering.
10 was
9.
Would you be willing to raise that?
I can go with 10.
So is it the consensus of the committee to raise the score to 10, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so I will again recap for each firm and give the final score. So for Bandy's Construction, the committee came to a consensus for criteria number 1 to the score of 10. Criteria number 2, the committee came to a consensus of 19. For criteria 3, the score again will remain at 47.29. Criteria 4, the consensus of the committee is for a score of 7. Criteria 5, the consensus of the committee is for a score of 11, for a total of 94.29 points for Bandy's Construction. For Registered Construction, for criteria 1, the consensus had a score of 8. Criteria 2, the the committee had a consensus score of 18. For criteria 3, the cost score will remain at 50 points. Criteria 4, the consensus of the committee was a score of 6. For criteria 5, the consensus of the committee is for a score of 10, for a total of 92 points. So with that said, the ranking is as such that Vandy's Construction is ranked number 1, Red 2 Construction is ranked number 2. Is it the consensus of the committee for Vandy's Construction to be the recommended contractor for the project?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so with that said, that will conclude our oral presentations and evaluation committee meeting for RFP 24-24447, the design build services for the fire rescue emergency management warehouse, step 2. The committee chair is tasked with providing a summary of this meeting, at which point, once received, I will prepare the notice of intent to recommend award. That notice will be posted, and there will be 5-day protest period. At the conclusion of that period, then the if no protest is received, then we will proceed with the next phase of the project, is to go into negotiations with the highest ranked firm. And so there's nothing else that's gonna. Oh, I do want to state that the cone of silence is still in effect for this project, so please be advised that firms should not be contacting any of the committee members. Committee members should not have any conversations with any of the firms. All communications should still route through me, as that cone of silence is still in effect at this time. So again, that will conclude the evaluation committee meeting for RFP 24-447, design build services for the fire rescue emergency management warehouse for step 2. I want to thank you all for your time and efforts and for your participation in this project, for the committee members as well as the firms that submitted. That will conclude the meeting today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate your time.
I didn't have to say much.